Hi. Sorry about the lighting. I switched bedrooms and there's not a proper lamp in here. It's too bright, and either it's going to be so bright and making me crazy, or I put the hallway light on. I wanted to talk about maxillary anstrostomy, uh, surgical procedure on the sinuses, and CPAP. Well, removal of the what's it called, inferior turbinates as well, a turbinectomy, maxillary anstrostomy, ethmoidectomy, and CPAP. The last, I am so sick and miserable and hopeless right now, and the last thing I feel like doing is being on camera and talking. I'm hiding. I'm so sick and miserable, and I'm retreating and I'm hiding, and it's probably it's probably a time when a person really should talk. And another reason that I'm choosing to talk also is because um, with the empty nose syndrome, when someone reduces too much of your uh, inferior turbinates in the nose, there's a list of people who didn't survive. We've got an actual list. I forget how many people ended up unaliving because of this sinus condition caused by surgery. I think it's like 47, or I I don't know, don't quote me, but a lot of people have, you know, that we know of, and there's probably twice or three times as many people that we don't know about, right? Because this condition didn't have a name, and for years, and also a lot of people are walking around, they're suffering, but they don't know that this is what they have. But anyways, the reason why I'm talking about this is because I'm suffering so bad right now from all these procedures and CPAP. And I know one of the people who took their lives a year ago from this. They also very specific. He had a, let me make sure I make this clear. He also had a, no, wait a minute. Oh, I'd have to read about his story. He, when I read his story a few weeks ago, I had so much going on that I need to go back and reread his story. But um, he made a post somewhere else that I read with my own eyes about uh, some of his particular symptoms. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had a maxillary anstrostomy. His sinuses cut open because he was talking about very specific symptoms about, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But he talked about that now came a time where he developed sleep apnea, and he needs the CPAP machine, and what hell that has brought to him, how that has made his life. Things are bad enough with the empty nose syndrome and whatever else procedures he had done, but he said adding CPAP on top of that has made his life a nightmare. And he said, I think he said, one doctor, I can't remember what kind of doctor, neurologist or somebody, I don't know. One doctor agreed with him that this was exacerbating his condition. And so I wanted to talk about that. That he's the only person ever I've seen talk about this. And so I wanted to talk about this, and for the record, because he never really stated this anywhere specifically. So I wanted to state for the record my experience with these medical procedures and CPAP. I have a maxillary anstrostomy, um, turbinectomy, and ethmoidectomy. Ethmoid sinuses cut up, and middle turbinates were messed around with as well. And so that surgery was 13 years ago, 12, 13 years ago. And and now I got I've had apnea for a long time. I've been on CPAP for 6 years. When I got on CPAP, so the surgery was 12, 13 years ago. I've been suffering ever since the surgery and never knew why. And a lot of pain, dryness. What happens when they mess with, I don't know. It seems like people with empty nose syndrome, a lot of them, I don't know what their exact procedures have been, but one main symptom is dryness and, uh, lack of mucus and stuff. So I think, the mucus lining, when that's been messed with, or the ethmoid sinuses, I read that they produce mucus. I don't know. Having the maxillary sinuses cut open and left that way, my cheek sinuses are open, and the dryness and the bleeding and the cracking or crusting, or else um, there will be an extreme lack of mucus, or what mucus there is, it's so thick it sticks to the walls inside the maxillary, and you can't get it out. You can't blow it out. It's really hard to get it out. So it's total sinus dysfunction is what it is. And pain. I mean, how much more dysfunctional than that can you get? Having chronic pain in your sinuses all the time from, being wide open and dried out and, bleeding or whatever. But I wanted to say that this CPAP is, it's forced air for sleep apnea. You put the CPAP machine on, and then you turn the machine on, and it blows air to keep your airway open all night. But with the maxillary anstrostomy, the CPAP is blasting forced air into my sinuses. And the CPAP machine has a humidifier on it. Oh God, I can't even imagine without the humidifier. Even with the humidifier, it's just pain and sickness and illness. And I wake up and I don't sleep that much. I probably average 4 hours of sleep now a night. And when I get up for the day, I get up and my sinuses start. I just become so sick from my sinuses, pain and brain fog, and it's like I'm in a state of shock. tinnitus. See, it's hard to say because I have Chiari malformation as well, and but it's also, I think, causing issues with the ear. I'm having a lot of ear pain and blockage in the ear, and so this fluid in the ear, I think the CPAP and the maxillary sinuses cut open is causing fluid in the ear, and it's causing jaw. The CPAP is causing jaw issues. I just want to put this on record that the CPAP with all this sinus damage is so painful. It not just pain, it's I wake up in a state of shock. I wake up stunned. I sit there just, and the ear as well is making me so sick, and I think it's from the CPAP and the sinuses, all the ear issues. CPAP has made this sinus damage so much worse. It's unbearable. The last 6 years has been absolutely unbearable. And, this was bad enough for years. The sinus pain and everything from the empty nose syndrome and all the damage. This was bad enough for all those years. To the point that the pain was so bad, doctors were giving me opioids. And now the last 6 years with CPAP, it's just, life is unbearable. It's just unbearable. And you know what? Even without the CPAP, when I skip the CPAP for a couple nights, I'm so dried out. My sinuses are just, either way, my sinuses are just killing me. This is just chronic pain, chronic full sickness, when you're sick with your sinuses, it's not just your sinuses. You feel sick from head to toe, I'm going to go look for that guy's story. He was a doctor of some sort and took his life, but I remember the specific words. He said that CPAP made it so much worse for him, and he's the only other person I've ever heard say that. And me too. It's made this into just, it's unbearable. It's unbearable.